مشاهدي الأعزاء، أهلا ومرحبا بكم في هذا اللقاء المتجدد مع مجلتكم.
نعيش خلالها مع الأزواج الجراحين الذين يقومون بعمليات تجميلية لزوجاتهم.
كيف يمكنك تزييف لوحة لرسام عالمي مشهور؟
اليابانيون واختراعاتهم اللانهائية.
رحلة إلى طرف العالم نيوزيلندا ونخبة من أفلام الأسبوع. إنهم يملكون مهارة فائقة بين أصابعهم، وهم يقومون بعمليات جراحية دقيقة للغاية، يغيرون معالم الوجه ويعيدون إليه الرونق والجمال. إنهم جراحو التجميل الذين يقومون بأدق العمليات، وخاصة إذا كان هذا متعلقا بأقرب الناس إليهم، زوجاتهم.
Victor Rosenberg is a top New York cosmetic surgeon. He performs hundreds of facelifts like this every year, many of them under local anesthetic.
Well, let's take a deep breath. Don't make any noise, darling. Something you want. I'll do it for you.
And when it comes to demonstrating the finished product, Dr. Rosenberg doesn't need a dummy. He's got a wife.
Now, this is a smiling picture of Debbie in 1982. Prior to the facelift surgery. And the side view shows this, and now put your head down slightly. Now the jawline is much better, and there's much less in there, and the lower neck is very clean, including back here.
And the fun thing about doing the hands is that your hands don't have to give away your age anymore. You know, people always say you get a facelift, but the hands are the things that always gave away age, and now that's not true anymore.
In San Francisco, Dr. Alan Gaynor sucks out fat where it's not wanted and re-injects it where it's needed.
Okay, we're done now. Totally done. Here you are, Ellie.
His wife's not only his business partner, she's an enthusiastic patient.
They're great. The fat transfer, I would say, is the best. It's a fabulous, fabulous procedure.
Playing Santa Claus at a charity do, leading West Coast plastic surgeon Dr. John Emery. On his glamorous wife Deborah, he's bestowed the ultimate gift, eternal youth.
I'll wait up for you, dear Santa baby, and hurry down the chimney tonight.
I believe in the maintenance thing. I mean, I plan on being here till at least 100, and
Looking much as you do now?
well, if that's possible, maybe. I don't know.
How old are you?
I'm 40 plus.
And it's not just his wife he's remodeled, brother-in-law, his son, and his wife's mum.
You've done your mother-in-law?
Yes. Matter of fact, I did her before we were married.
He did a facelift for the wedding.
Many blokes would love to have the opportunity to do that.
Yes, that was a long time ago. Well, it's not that long, 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
She's due again, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Now.
And now daughter Tammy, at the ripe old age of 25, reckons she's ready for the scalpel.
Lower you down a little bit. And so all this will go. Now, if she didn't have this done, in another 8 or 10 years, this skin would have stretched out, so there'd be a lot more. And then she lives, of course, during that time with the problem of extra skin around the upper eyelids that she's finding distasteful at this time.
Of course, these things run in families. Tammy's mother had the same problem.
I got to tell you something. When I got the bags removed from my eyes, I woke up every day and I said, oh, God, you know, it's just so nice to look normal. You know, I just used to feel like I didn't drink. And here it looked like I'd been out on a binge. So for me, it was like, oh, what a relief. And then when I got the nose done, I could turn profile, and actually people come up to me and say, oh, I want a nose just like you. And that, I never even cared whether anybody else wanted it. It's just that I can look at my nose and turn my head and wear my hair back in a ponytail and do everything without looking like I had a ski jump nose, which kids used to call me ski jump or Bucky Beaver. I mean, all these horrible names that kids call you. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, I had to ask someone to my junior prom. No dates. So.
Bit of fat in there, so I'm going to remove the skin. I'll go in, I'm going to take the fat away in a little strip of muscle.
It's precise work. No cut is ever made without careful planning.
See, that's going to fall right into that crease here.
But when it's a family member, John Emery admits the tension is greater.
May I present the new 1992 United States Mrs. of the Year, Deborah Emery.
So, with a bit of nipping and tucking from her husband, the girl who once couldn't get a date for the high school dance grew up to be Mrs. USA.
Now, you'd be up against lots of women who'd had considerable amounts of surgery.
Oh, yes. And women 21 and older.
Now, that would be like competing in an Olympic Games where everyone was on steroids.
Well, not everybody.
Well,
No,
you know what I mean?
some of the
they've
girls,
taken all these advantages.
well, you know, there's girls 21 who maybe didn't have plastic surgery, or they might have had a nose done or breast done. You don't know, really, whether they did or didn't. But as you get older, I mean, let's face it, 40-plus years against a 21-year-old, I knew I had everything else going for me, but personally, I wasn't sure if I was going to muster up, so I had him do a little fat fill in the face before I went there. I said, I need to plump it up a little bit.
And not just Mrs. USA, but a mother and daughter crown as well.
Theirs isn't just a usual mother-daughter tie. Their relationship has become a friendship that affects their lives as individuals.
It's part of the American dream, the pursuit of happiness. It's even enshrined in their constitution. But do they go too far?
It's really no different than having your teeth corrected when you're a child, or having some other astigmatism or other problems. It's a correction of your faults, and there's really
Or
nothing
working
wrong
out,
with it.
for that matter, keeping the pounds off.
You think it's an advantage to a plastic surgeon to have an attractive wife?
Oh, I always tell him that, but he doesn't listen to me. I said, how can you let me walk around like this?
Deborah Rosenberg never really liked the way she looked.
In other words, I didn't go to her and say she needed the operation. She came to me. And then at that time, I did a facelift on her.
And the day those eyes were done, the next morning, I thought I was, terrific. I was wonderful. I was back to my normal self. I opened up again.
So have you restricted the work to the face?
Yes.
She's perfect in other areas.
That's nice to know.
At the same time, we'll remove her scars.
The end results might be pleasing, but the surgery is not for the squeamish. It can't be as bad as it looks, because these doctors have willingly had a taste of their own medicine.
I used to have a large double chin.
You could never see the top of his tongue, no matter how thin
And
he
my
was.
whole neck was suctioned. And I'm very happy with the result, and it's about 6 or 7 years ago now.
But come clean, my spies tell me that you've had a few things done to yourself.
Oh, I like this stuff. I've had 3 hair transplants, including one 48 hours ago, which I hope is undetectable. It's not healed. I really wondered about doing it just prior to your coming. Dr. John Emery, I think you've met him. He did my lower eyelids and Catherine, my wife's upper eyelids. I've had a little liposuction of my love handles, a little fat put in my face. I'm hardly human at all anymore. I think I'm completely bionic.
When you're married to a plastic surgeon and a living monument to his sculptural skills, you become adept at telling who's real and who isn't.
Give me a tip on this. How many of the ladies here tonight do you think have had
different treatments.
Well, I would say looking at this group, I would say probably 50% or maybe even a hair more.
I mean, how do you tell? I know the old trick of looking at the hands, but apart from that,
well, there's a certain look to the face. I mean, you look at the hair and the density of the hair, and you look at the husband, and then you look at the wife, and I mean, there's a lot of, and then of course, you know, I hate to, being on the inside track, I can tell. I hate to say it. It's bad sometimes you can look, but as long as they look great, that's all that matters.
if there's a moral to our story, it's this, that unlike sex perhaps, it seems that there's no end to surgery in marriage. The older you get, the more you want it.
You've got to
إننا نكاد نقف لفترات طويلة أمام لوحة لرسامين عالميين مثل فان جوخ وريمبراندت ورينوار، نتأمل جمالها وندرك أننا لا نملك المقدرة على اقتنائها لأنها تكلف الآلاف من الدولارات إن لم يكن الملايين. ولكن ثمة من يملك القدرة على نقل هذه اللوحة بحذافيرها دون المس بجمالها، إنهم رسامو اللوحات المزيفة.
The Luncheon of the Boating Party, painted by Renoir over 100 years ago, hangs at the Phillips Collection in Washington, D.C.
It's like the height of Impressionist art. It is thoroughly unique.
Yes, it's a one-of-a-kind, definitely.
Well, I've been Monet, Renoir, Pablo Picasso.
Her real name is Elena.
I aim for accuracy, I do. I am an artist.
An artist who makes her living, in part, by copying masterpieces.
People pick a painting and I painted. They know it's a copy, actually.
Elena's paintings aren't meant to deceive anyone.
I was known as the folk art forger.
Bob Trotter's were.
If you're going to fake something, you have to think like the person that would have painted it.
Trotter mostly faked folk art. Amateur but expensive paintings, over 100 years old.
I sold a painting for $25,000 that 3 days later was offered for $750,000. A faker can really fake any style.
We commissioned Trotter to paint us a fake, an old fake.
In 48 hours, we're going to make a painting that's 110 years old.
He chose to copy George Inness, a major American artist who painted 100 years ago.
You have to be a little bit of a chemist. What we're trying to do is have a paint that acts like a 100-year-old paint. You go to bed thinking, okay, I've got to wake up and be George Inness in the morning.
Make an old painting. Must have been pretty tempting.
Yes, it was almost like the ability to print money.
In a 4-year period, Trotter passed off over 50 fake paintings.
So, can I take it?
I'm afraid I have to sign it. If I don't sign this painting, I very well could end up going back to jail.
Back to jail, because Bob Trotter spent 10 months behind bars, not for copying old paintings, but for passing them off as the real thing.
The law is, if it's not real and you know it's not real, you have an obligation to tell people.
These days, Bob Trotter only paints Bob Trotters.
My initial reaction was, no, it doesn't look real from...
He still uses his expertise to help others identify fakes.
Where did you get this painting? This is very dry looking. These are real cracks.
At this antique fair, we learned a lesson.
I would call it the real thing. It's fake.
It's not just difficult to tell fake from real.
They're from 1840.
But old from new.
That could have been painted yesterday.
Just the style of it.
Dealer Charles Martin dated this painting circa 1900.
You don't believe this is 92 years old?
No.
Martin says he's sure it's old.
Are you convinced that the painting is from 1900?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But the longer we speak with him, the younger the painting gets.
1920s.
And then,
Probably 20s and 30s.
before it gets any younger, we buy it for $300.
And if it turns out it was painted last week, you'll give us our money back.
You got it.
Okay. Okay.
It just doesn't look old enough. It looks like new paint.
It's not that old.
We checked with 2 experts.
Even here on the side, you can see that the canvas is really quite new. It's certainly not 1900.
It was painted within the last 30 years, certainly no earlier than that.
Good thing we kept our receipt.
Hi there.
Charles, I've got a painting here that isn't quite as old as it was supposed to be.
With 1900, we're still in the 1900s now. It didn't say 1901 or 1902. I have a right, as somebody who does this, to guess when I think this came about.
We decided there was only one sure thing, our money back.
Anybody can be fooled. So that's business you're in. Buy it because you like it.
I like Renoir because I like his people. They're fun.
The luncheon of the boating party, painted by Elena this year, hangs at the New York gallery True Fakes.
Yeah.
Before the painting is dry, it has a home.
So now we have it in our front room.
With a couple who know exactly what they're buying.
The Mona Lisa's next.